Hello, my name's James Allen Sturtevant, and I wrote You've Gotta Connect for World Book. But like most of you, I'm a teacher, and I've watched this summer vacation, poof, just evaporate. So World Book challenged me to challenge you. Give them something to aspire to when they return to the classroom in a few weeks, they prompted. That, my friends, is a challenge accepted. So here's what we came up with. So this fall, let's bond with our students. That's right, bond with them. Let's forge some relationships. This is going to be a lot of fun. In the process, I'd like to invite you to embrace 2 mantras. More about those mantras shortly. First, I want to tell you what energizes me. I believe that if teachers form strong bonds with students, we could revolutionize the education system. I mean, come on, man. Education is a people business. And yet, at contemporary faculty meetings, the airwaves are dominated by highfalutin phrases and New Deal sounding acronyms like the ones floating above our 2 students' head. We've become so focused on the manufacturing process of learning, we've lost sight of the product. We've lost sight of the child. This is my 30th year teaching in a high school classroom. I've seen the power of connecting throughout my long career. But hey, you don't have to just take my word on it. There's good research about the power of relationships in schools. In 2008, John Hattie wrote a landmark book called Visible Learning. He created a list of 138 influences on student learning. When it comes to Hattie's list, the lower the number, the more positive the influence. Self-reported grades tops out at number 1 on Hattie's list. Apparently, students do really well when they're allowed to self-evaluate. At the bottom of Hattie's list in 138th place is student mobility. In this case, we're talking about kids that have to move from school to school, often in the midst of the year. Hattie's work was referred to me by a former superintendent who read my book. So I was really curious. Where would student-teacher relationships fall on Hattie's 138? How about 11th? That's right, 11th place, baby. Far ahead of many things that we might think are more important. Things like cooperative learning, teaching strategies, professional development, class size, or even the presence of a gifted and talented administrator as our leader. Ha! So all the things that we want for our kids: do well on standardized tests, succeed at the college level, compete with young people around the world, find happiness. All those things become so much more possible, so much more likely if teachers form strong bonds with kids. Okay, I've yacked enough. It's time to get busy. Keep in mind our overall goal, which is to bond with students this fall. Earlier I mentioned that I would invite you to embrace 2 mantras. Well, here's mantra number 1. This fall, I'll just accept my students. Like most mantras, mantra number 1 is easy to understand. Applying it, on the other hand, is a different matter. Let's face it, generation gaps are powerful. Don't believe me? Check out this next quote. I see no hope for the future of our people if they are dependent on the frivolous youth of today. For certainly all youth are reckless beyond words. When I was a boy, we were taught to be discreet and respectful of elders. But the present youth are exceedingly wise and impatient of restraint. Well, that certainly seems like a contemporary complaint about young people. But that quote came from Hesiod, the poet of ancient Greece, writing in 700 BCE. That's 200 years prior to Athens' golden age. Certainly it's no walk in the park to teach our current crop of young people. Check out these girls. Isn't this maddening? Especially when it happens during class time. What's even more annoying is they're probably texting each other. All they have to do is turn around and talk. My buddy TC Coates has a job for you. After you hit pause, he wants you to make a list of everything you can't stand about this generation. I mean, let it all hang out. Make it as long as you want. When you're done, hit play, and then we'll have some more instructions for you. Here's my list. My friend Leah thinks I complain too much, but I'll bet you cell phone addiction showed up on your list too. So here's what she'd like us to do next. Go ahead and hit pause. Go over each item on your list and circle the ones that you have little or no control over. After that, hit play. Miss Olivia is in shock. I circled 7 out of my 11 items. And yet these very things that I circled are often the things we agonize about the most. I think it's time for some healing, folks. Olivia certainly agrees. She thinks it's time for some therapy. Here's my condensed inventory. Guess what she wants me to do? You got it. Destroy it. You could wad it up and pitch it, or shred it, but that's kind of boring. Why not fold it into an airplane and fly it somewhere irretrievable? Or you could burn it. Regardless of how you get rid of this list, the physical act could be a cathartic experience for you. You'll be letting go of things over which you have little or no control. That's healthy. But more importantly, you'll be eliminating, destroying, pulverizing, dismantling ridiculous barriers between you and your students. To quote my fellow Buckeye Neil Armstrong, that would be a giant leap for mankind. Educators are frequently lectured, get to know your students. But that's often easier said than done. Many of the most needy kids can be pretty closed down. Trying to get to know them before they're ready can be counterproductive. So with Mantra 2, we're going to reverse engineer the problem of becoming familiar with our students. So Mantra 2 reads, this fall, I'm going to share my life with my students. This second mantra might make some of you uncomfortable, but rest assured your students share their lives constantly on social media. They inform their friends and the entire world for that matter, whom they're attracted to, what they watch on TV, their favorite movies and music in the form of video clips. They post massive photo albums of themselves and endlessly report trivial details about their daily existence. Young people are totally down with this form of sharing. They are constantly informing everyone what's up. You might think it's strange to announce to the world what you're having for dinner, but your students don't. Your life is comprised of many seemingly ordinary experiences. Your kids would probably find some of them fascinating. These constitute harmless opportunities in which you can morph into an actual person right in front of your amazed students' eyes. How about sharing these experiences with your kids? A new movie you just saw. Perhaps a new local restaurant you visited for the first time. Detail a particularly challenging workout or map out a new home construction project. Have your students select your new eyeglass frames or your next car. Or maybe display a before and after picture of your next haircut. I do this stuff all the time. Check it out. Like when I took my pug/dachshund to the dog groomer for a toenail trim. My students accompanied me on the journey of installing an outdoor shower on my back porch. I like trying new things, like running barefoot. Oh yes, you can take it too far. Please don't try this on a first date. So now it's your turn. Hit pause and search your phone, your computer, or a box in the attic for an interesting photo. Compose a brief narrative about how you could use this image to introduce yourself to your students. It could be included in a handout where students have to make guesses about what's transpiring, like an anticipation guide. Or you could display it on a projector and prompt kids to become journalists and compose a brief story about what they see. Share your life frequently, and in the process you'll come alive for your students. Once you become more familiar, you'll be so much more approachable. Getting to know all your students will be easy. Hey, in just a few weeks, you can give some of my ideas a test drive. It could be a fun September. Have a great year, and thanks for watching. If you'd like to learn more about my title, You've Got to Connect, visit worldbook.com, incentivepublications.com. Of course, you could always visit Amazon. But I'd really be pumped if you connected with me. You can do that through my email address, pjsturtevant@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter. You can like my Facebook page, which is entitled You've Got to Connect. Or hey, visit my website, jamesallansturtevant.com.